He has talent, he has upside, he also has a lot of players ahead of him. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Keon Johnson's player preview. Now, in this video, I'm going to look at what you should expect from the young guard next season, how he might be utilized in the Blazers system, as well as some statistical goals for him next season. I've already dropped 3 player previews on Greg Brown III, Jabari Walker, and Drew Eubanks, so if you haven't checked them out, I have a playlist linked in the description box below. With that said, let's get into it. Keon Johnson was the prized acquisition in the Norman Powell and Robert Covington trade to the Clippers at last year's NBA trade deadline, and he's a guy that the Portland organization supposedly loves as a long-term developmental piece, but also somebody that could potentially provide some help right now. He was a rookie last year, and in the 2021 draft, he was a protected lottery pick that fell to the 21st overall draft selection. He's definitely talented, he's a freak athlete, and he's the type of guard that the Portland Trailblazers have taken a liking to in the past couple of years. Last season, Keon Johnson played in 37 games, 15 of those were for the Clippers, where he only played 9 minutes per game, and then 22 of those were for the Portland Trailblazers, where he played in over 25 minutes per game. Here are his stats for Portland last season. He averaged almost 10 points, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds, while getting a steal, shooting 36% from the field and 35% from 3. This efficiency was a little bit strange from Keon Johnson. He was looked at as a guy that would excel, maybe slashing to the rim, finishing around the rim. He's a freak athlete, has some creative finishing ability, but the knock on him was he could not hit threes out of college. He shot 27%, and then for the Clippers, he shot 27% as well. He comes to Portland and shoots 35% from 3 on 4 attempts per game. Now, he was putting up that shooting split in a low-pressure situation for a team that wasn't trying to win games, but then he went into Summer League and shot 5 threes a game at 33%, which isn't great, but it's better than what he was doing prior to Portland. He also shot some threes off the dribble and looked like he might be able to develop into a pull-up three-point shooter, and it's kind of hard to analyze Keon Johnson because what he looked like coming into the league and what he looks like now is a bit different. So I'm going to do the best job I can. First off, for the offensive breakdown, I think the key for him next year, if he does end up playing, is he is going to have to knock down three-point shots, and it's going to be interesting to see what he shoots from 3, if he regresses back to what he was before, or if who he's shown to be in a Portland Trailblazer uniform is actually who he is as a shooter. I always thought his shooting form was okay. There was nothing inherently wrong with it, so I was always confused why he struggled to knock down three-point shots prior to Portland. So I think there is a chance that he's just a solid three-point shooter that maybe underachieved or had something he needed to fix with his form that he ended up making the changes on. The other thing that I'm not sure of is his playmaking ability, being a scorer off the dribble and making plays for others. He showcased some serious flashes of that during Summer League. Now, he only averaged 2 assists per game in Summer League, but I don't think that does him justice. He had a couple nice passes where teammates didn't convert. It seemed like he read the game better, and it seemed like his ball handling was sharper. And at 6'3" with not the longest wingspan, Keon Johnson is a point guard sized player. He was a shooting guard coming into the league, but he doesn't have the greatest size, length, or strength to play that position. I think he can play up, but it's a little bit easier to fit him into a team construct if he can play some point guard. And right now, behind Damian Lillard and Anthony Simons, the Blazers don't have a third string point guard. They have Brandon Williams on a 2-way contract. Who knows if he remains on that 2-way contract heading into the season. I think Keon Johnson might be the de facto third string point guard. I don't know if he can play that spot. I don't know if he can't. But it does seem like he's been improving as a ball handler and as a playmaker and as a shooter off the dribble. I think that long term, he definitely has a solid chance to become a guy that can play both the shooting guard and the point guard position, to become a true combo guard that doesn't struggle with either. I just don't know if that's going to be next season. It's going to be interesting to see if he gets slotted in if Dame or Ant miss some time. Where Keon Johnson can really be used on the offensive end is just with his off-ball ability and his athleticism. He's quick, insane vertical leap, and seems like he has a decent understanding of when to cut. And as far as the bench unit goes, I think they will try and force a lot of steals and play in transition. I think think Keon can play a part in that, not only on the defensive end, which we'll touch on, but also just being a lane filler and then even a lob target in transition. Keon Johnson's offensive game fits that of an up-tempo unit, so I think he will fit what the bench unit's identity will be. You also have Gary Payton II ahead of him as a defensive-minded player with some athleticism and a questionable three-point shot. If Gary Payton II misses some time, then I think Keon Johnson could actually slot into that role and do some of the same things that Gary Payton does. He's not going to do them as well, that's why GP2 is ahead of him in the rotation, but Keon can replicate that role enough where you don't have to change much up. I think the Blazers need to utilize their athletes as cutters more this season, have a more motion-based offense, and Keon Johnson needs to be one of those off-ball movers, one of those cutters, one of those guys looking to get to the rim off the ball, to get a lob, to get a backdoor pass, because with his athleticism, he can finish strong around the rim. Now, hopefully, he doesn't have to always do that because he can also spot up. That would be the most idealistic situation for him. But at the bare minimum, he should be moving a lot off ball, making the right sort of cuts, and then leaking out and running in transition. And then as a ball handler, I think he should be pushing the pace as well and trying to find seams in order to utilize his speed, his athleticism to get all the way to the rim. As far as his defensive goes, Keon Johnson was looked at as a potential lockdown defender coming to the league. I don't think he's quite that good on the defensive end, but I don't think he's bad. He has good foot speed and has a good motor on that end, so he makes up for a lack of size with that. It's just he's not strong enough. He needs to become a little bit stronger to be able to hold his own more physically. And then I also think the system this year might make him look a little bit better. The Blazers played aggressively defensively last year, but they didn't have a ton of pieces that did that all too well, especially when Keon Johnson played for the Blazers, which was when they were tanking. Now you have guys on this team that can play that style of defense, that can play passing lanes, get steals, play an aggressive scheme. And the more guys like that you have, the better each of them looks. If you have guys on the team that don't know how to play a certain scheme, that's where the breakdowns will be, and a guy like a Keon Johnson can't cover for those. He's not a rim protector that's going to stop things around the rim when they break down. He's a point of attack, perimeter defensive piece, and he's at his best when there aren't other weaknesses in the defense that the opposing offense can just look to and exploit. That is where I'm hopeful with the bench unit, which should have some good defensive pieces on it and should play a very competitive style of aggressive defensive ball. I think Keon Johnson could finally look like the lockdown defender he was tabbed as potentially being coming into the draft a year ago with this bench unit should he play. Now the key thing is, should he play? I don't expect him to be in the rotation right away. You have too many guys ahead of him. At the point guard, shooting guard, and small forward spots, you have Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, Nasir Little, Josh Hart, Gary Payton II, and the 7th overall pick in Shaedon Sharpe. So I still don't know if Keon Johnson is going to be a Portland Trailblazer long term. I think there is a solid chance that he gets traded at next year's trade deadline because the Blazers have a lot of players at the 1 through 3 spots, and because he's still only 20 years of age and still looks like a guy who maybe has some solid upside long term. He could be that young player thrown into a trade that maybe swings the balance at the deadline that helps the Blazers get more competitive right now. But supposedly the Blazers front office loves him. They want him around long term. If he's kept around, I think he'll be the long-term successor to Gary Payton II. It's just going to be hard for him to see the floor next year with all the guys he has ahead of him. He's probably going to need other things to happen. Now, let's look at some statistical goals for Keon Johnson. The first two are efficiency-based, and the goal for him is to shoot 45% from 2 and 36% from 3. For the Blazers last year, that was at 36 and 35% respectively, so I want to see a leap in 2-point percentage. If he's used more off the ball as a cutter and playing more in transition, that 2-point percentage could be up around 50 to 55%, which would be a huge leap. I think he will be better if he's playing next to better players where he doesn't have to do too much off the dribble, which he did last year for a tanking team. So I think going from 36% from 2 last season to 45% actually isn't that drastic given the context and the assumption that he will improve going into his second year in the NBA at 20 years old. The 3-point percentage is just hovering around where he was before. Just some slight improvement would be nice. Honestly though, if he shoots 33-34%, that's not a bad thing in my opinion. He wasn't a shooter coming into the league, so as long as he can just be mediocre, I'll take that. This next goal is key if he's going to be playing some point guard. I want to see a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio from Keon. This is a little ambitious. Last year he had a 1.6-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, so this would include some slight improvement in that regard, but it looked like his ball handling and maybe playmaking ability was improving a bit, so 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio is a goal for him. And then I have 2 per game goals based on a per 36-minute basis. And it doesn't include points because I don't think he needs to score a lot of points to be effective. My goals for him are 4 assists per 36 minutes and 1.5 steals. Last season per 36, he averaged 3.9 assists per game, so this is right in line with his assists last year. And then he averaged 1.4 steals, so just some slight improvement in these numbers on a per 36-minute basis would be good. However, the steal number I think you could see go even higher depending on how aggressive a defense the bench unit plays, as Keon just seems like the guy that could maybe get 2 steals per 36. Anyway, that wraps up my player preview on Keon Johnson. Let me know what you think of him down in the comment section below. Do you think he should see some spot minutes to start the season? Do you think he should be ahead of certain guys in the rotation? Do you think he should be traded? Let me know whatever you think about Keon down in the comment section below. Leave a like on this video and subscribe. Check out the description for multiple links to different things, and I'm out of here until next time. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.